Hello, my name is Jacob Toddson and welcome back to spring. It has finally arrived and I can feel winter finally melting off of myself. I've been on quite a bit of a hiatus from YouTube. I've really been leaning into winter for many reasons, but one of the reasons for that is a lot of death has happened in my family, sadly. And I'm not making this video for any kind of condolences or anything like that. I want to make this video to share with you how I've been processing the death that has recently been happening in my family and kind of share why I think modern spirituality, but also ancient traditions and how they all kind of come together have really helped me process death in a healthy way. And so we're going to be talking about a lot. We're going to be getting a little philosophical, there'll be a little history, and of course my personal experiences. Now, before we move too far along, I should probably let you know who I am in case you don't know, if you've not been to this channel before. So my name's Jacob Toddson, and for the last few years, I have been making YouTube videos about ancient religions and traditions and how they still survive today. A lot of this has been my personal explorations into the Norse belief system. But the last couple of years, I have been traveling all over Northern Europe and a little bit around the world to explore these ancient traditions for myself, particularly when it comes to shamanism or the Celtic traditions in Ireland or Scotland. I've been going through different ceremonies such as sweat lodges or even ayahuasca ceremonies, all to kind of answer this question of life and spirituality and belief, all also doing this research into the beliefs of the past. And so I'm not an expert by any means, but I really wanted to kind of return this channel back to its roots, which is me just going on hikes and talking about interesting subject material that is hopefully helpful and entertaining to you. So yeah, that's me. I don't want to go too long on my personal experiences, just because I really don't want to do this as a way of asking for sympathy or anything like that. The first death happened about a month and a half ago, and then I had another death of my other grandmother about a week and a half ago. It's definitely been hard. I feel a little bit numb from it, to be honest with you, and I think that's kind of natural, is after you go through so many funerals and things like that, it definitely makes you a bit numb. But something that I want to share that's really changed with this last one is really reflecting on how to honor someone's memory rather than grieving their passing. And this can be definitely difficult if someone passes who is quite young, because obviously we mourn for that loss of life, but it's a little bit easier when someone's, up there in years and you can kind of celebrate their long life. And so this theme of celebration and venerating and even embodying the best traits of someone are something I really try to focus on when it comes to this most recent grandmother that's passed. I realized that she wouldn't want me talking about her death and things like that she would want me to continue to live and to embody her kindness and her patience. Like, this is how I connect to her. This is how I grieve for her, is actually sharing her love and kindness with other people. So yeah, that's also one of the things that got me back into making videos, is because I wanted to share the lessons they've taught me and the lessons I've been reflecting on with death and loss with all of you. So I want to paint you a picture here before we get into the history. Let's say there is an afterlife, and the afterlife is a journey. And whatever you've been given on this journey is basically what you've been buried with or cremated with. And so you wake up in the afterlife in this modern era, and all you have been given is a suit and an ugly, massive, overpriced coffin. It's a funny thought I actually did have at one of the funerals, because in the ancient past, there was a much more emphasis on what you were given for the journey into the next life. So a lot of people in the ancient past were buried or cremated with grave goods when it came to food, water, wine, mead, objects such as knives, or even entertainment pieces such as chessboards or Viking chess. There's a lot of different examples across Northern Europe and all around the world of different grave offerings being left for someone. I don't know what the afterlife is like, but we have been doing grave goods and this style of having offerings you're buried with much longer in history, typically as humans, than we've been doing the traditional Christian burials in the sense of you're given nothing besides a suit or a nice dress. And so I think I'm going to go with the ancient peoples, is please bury me with some food and water, and maybe a hunting knife, some proper boots. I don't want to be buried in a suit. That doesn't do me any good on the road to hell, the road to the next life. Another thing I want to talk about when it comes to history it's something to, for us as well, is the importance of being remembered. Standing stones, rune stones, way markers, and all these things, we have been leaving as a species markers for the dead for a very long time. And we've been doing this as the living, the living erect the monuments. And the reason we do this is, I think, as a way to remember someone. We can go to a grave site anywhere around the world and see graves from 200-300 years ago, 400 years ago. And it's a way for that person to be remembered. It's a place that you can go to leave offerings. It's a place you can go to communicate with that individual rather than having nowhere. And so it does seem to be something that's important to us, is leaving something to be remembered. For me, one of the most reassuring signs from nature that life just keeps going and it's not just this one-time thing is nature itself. Everything acts in cycles. And something I really respect when it comes to history is the ancient peoples were really tied to the natural world, particularly when it came to the solar alignments, the way the moon worked, the seasons. And so they really observed the cycles of nature. And they really revered them and saw them in this kind of pseudo-science, but also spiritual way. And we've definitely lost that as we've become more scientific. I mean, science has been great, and I'm glad we have made so many advances in understanding our universes. But I think when we really break it down, it shouldn't remove the spiritual nature of some of these things. Like the sun is still crazy. It is a gigantic ball of fire that keeps us alive. And it's massive. It's so much bigger than us. It's just a big thing of energy swirling through the universe. It keeps us in its gravitational pull. So it is a life giver to us. And just because we can label that with science, I mean, maybe we don't want to give it a personality or put a human face to it, but still the sun is really important to us. And I think we can still spiritually connect to the sun. The earth is our home, it's our mother. And so I definitely think there's something to the Sky Father, the Mother Earth, and all of these kind of ancient archetypal looks at nature. And when we put death into this lens, everything has a cycle. I mean, trees die, they decay, they become soil, they add new life to nature. Everything feeds off of one another. Everything lends to one another in nature. And we're no different. Just because we separated ourselves with our clothing and our cars and our Starbucks and all this, we've removed ourselves or attempted to remove ourselves so far from nature. But ultimately, I think we really do return to it in death. And I think our spirit does as well. And not to get too much into plant medicines, I'm sure not everyone likes hearing about them. But one of the greatest lessons and teachings to me from plant medicine experiences is that life is a gift, and it's for us to enjoy and to savor, to respect. But one day we have to give that gift back to nature, and then that gift will be recycled and given to another spirit, another soul, another human. And so maybe we get another turn again. I don't know if I fully believe in reincarnation, but I definitely believe in this reciprocity, this giving and receiving of the gift of life. Hello, this is Jacob, playing the flute for you. I couldn't resist. This is a really cool spot right here. This is a weird video to do any kind of plug, but I am getting back into making videos full time. And I just want to take a moment. If anything I've talked about sounds interesting to you, if my journey sounds interesting to you, I've really been trying to think of a way to give back to my Patreon supporters, to the people that support me monthly. And so what I've decided to do is kind of create, not really a course by any means, it's not that. For anyone at the $10 tier on Patreon, I will be doing kind of monthly guides a little bit, things that have helped me in my journey. So things such as, fasting, things such as digital detoxing, cold exposure, ritual, prayer, trance, dance, all these things. I'm going to be giving kind of a list in a video format, basically guiding people on things that have helped me in my life. And kind of my plan for this is to go for a year at a time. And so we're starting here in the spring, and we're going to go all the way to next spring, kind of basing things based on the seasonal changes, and kind of have this course guidebook a little bit. There's going to be a chat community involved. And so if you're looking for something to get a little bit more spiritual this year, and I think that's it. It's inspiration. I want to inspire you with the things that have helped me in my life. And so not only will you be supporting me through Patreon, helping me as a creator continue to make content such as this, and and get wet along the way. Seriously, like this was not easy to get over to. So if you want to support a creator like me and get some inspiration in return, please think about heading to Patreon and supporting me at the $10 tier to join up for this next year. And you can join up at any time. If you're watching this in June or whatever, you can go back to all the previous videos. And hopefully we can have a nice little chat community too. So yeah, any help you're able to provide for this channel, it means a lot, and I really hope I can help you even more along the way. And so let's get back to this video discussing death and how it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely something we need to acknowledge a little bit more. So a fun little thing I wanted to share with you, I just thought about as I was walking, is so the really ancient people, I mean, I'm talking the pre-Celts, I'm talking the people that built Stonehenge, Newgrange, the real old stuff. They were really big into the winter solstice. I mean, this is something that's very common all around the world. And when it came to the winter solstice, the alignment of the tombs were to the winter solstice sun. And there's a lot of ideas and speculation that this was because the winter solstice was tied to rebirth, obviously the rebirth of the sun. And so there was an idea that the dead can come back to life during the winter solstice, and particularly with the sun. And so, yeah, it's like, you know, the cycles of nature once again. You know, you have the cycles of the seasons, but then the cycles of the sun when it fully dies and enters its lowest point, but then is reborn again. Obviously, this is why you also have like Sol Invictus, the unconquerable power of the sun, which is like the Roman version of the sun. Its birthday was on December 25th. And then, as much as, you know, I hate to reveal it to Christianity, Jesus' birthday was not December 25th. December 25th was the birthday of Sol Invictus, which was co-opted into Christianity as the birthday of Jesus, because it was the birth of the sun. And Jesus is also a figure of rebirth as well. Regardless, this idea of rebirth seems to be very common throughout ancient history. But last thing I want to really share here in the history bit, or at least viewpoint bit, is when it comes to the Native American people, is there is a huge emphasis on the grandfather and grandmother spirits. And a lot of prayers, particularly when it comes to Lakota, are calling to grandfather or the grandfather spirit or the grandmother spirit as well. And they all have important roles. And there's this idea that when we die, we kind of transition over into the ancestors. And this is something we see in the Scandinavian as well, something we see as the Celtic, is that we go to the ancestors, we go to be with them. In Iceland in particular, there's the mountain Helgafell, which is supposedly the mountain of the ancestors. And when we die, our spirits, well, for the Icelandic people, their spirits go into Helgafell, and there's a huge feast there, and all the ancestors are there. And so this is, to me, a better afterlife than the pearly gates and things like that. Like, to me, that just doesn't resonate. I definitely want to expand a little bit more on, like, Valhalla. Obviously, this channel started as a Norse pagan channel, and I have many different videos on the afterlife. And one of those things is the, you know, idea of Valhalla or hell or Odin's Hall, Freya's Hall, these things. I think they're a beautiful idea and a beautiful story, but personally, I don't believe in these types of afterlives. I don't necessarily believe in heaven. I don't believe in Valhalla. I don't believe in these things. I think these are stories of the past that paint a beautiful picture, and I think they're a great way to look at things. I think the afterlife is a lot more universal than religions that exist today believe in. Again, I think the Buddhists have a pretty good idea of it, but with different images depending on your culture. Doing plant medicines, I think, you know, I feel like I've seen the afterlife. And the afterlife is definitely multi-faced. It can represent itself in many different ways, but ultimately, we're all returning to the creator, the source, creation. For me, that is the Yggdrasil. I do see the afterlife as Yggdrasil. I see the universe as Yggdrasil. And I think our souls return to the world tree, return to spirit. And so I want to know your thoughts down below. What do you think of the afterlife? What do you think of what comes after this? And what do you believe in? You know, do you believe in Valhalla? Do you believe in heaven? Do you believe in hell? I do think that as far as like a bad place, if you're a bad person, I think if you do bad things, if you murder, if you hurt, and you live a life like that, I think it weighs heavy on your soul. And I think if you have a heavy soul, I think your spirit's going to have a lot of hard time transitioning into that next life. And I think it's going to be drugged down into a darker place. And so I do believe that there is punishment in a way, but I think having a clean soul and doing things that cleanse you and attune you This is what we seek out of spirituality and belief. But I think it is completely childish. I think it is completely immoral. I think it's wrong. I think it's honestly stupid to think that there is one right way. That is my biggest critique of Christianity, is that, Christians, sects of Christianity, think that they have the one right way into the good afterlife, and that everyone else is screwed. Particularly, like Baptists. Baptists think, oh yeah, everyone else, the Presbyterians, the Catholics, they all go to hell because they don't believe exactly how we think. And to me, that is a dangerous mindset that shouldn't exist in this world, is thinking that there is one right way to view the afterlife. I really hate the weaponization of the afterlife as a way to create fear in order to gain converters into a belief system. That's something that needs to end. I definitely want to get out there for a minute. So my views on gods are probably a little bit interesting for some people. Again, just like the afterlife is, I don't believe things as literally as I used to when I first started exploring religions and ancient beliefs. There was a time that I was starting to not believe in gods anymore, and I don't believe in them in the sense of like Thor is actually a red-bearded man with a hammer and a chariot flying across the sky. But I definitely believe in energies and what these energies do for us as we connect to them. I think Odin is the aspect of sacrifice, of wandering, of intuition. And then you can feel, essences of pain, of loss, and I think these negative things can identify themselves as gods as well. And that's something, again, I don't necessarily like the monotheistic belief system, regardless of whether you call it Yeshua, whether you call it Allah, God, it doesn't matter. But I do think that there are so many different things in this world as far as to connect with, both in the good and the bad. And death is something that is so powerful. Death is something that happens all the time. It's happening all around us, both within human lives, but also in nature. And this energy of death, I think, does manifest itself in what we could call a god. Now, is it the Egyptian god of death? Is it the Greek god of death? Is it, Hades? Is it hell? Is it the devil? These are, again, lenses we put onto these things. But when we actually look and strip those things away and look at the essence of death and what it actually is, death is like a gateway. It's a passage into that next life. And so I think death does kind of come to greet us. There's the idea of the Grim Reaper. I think when we, enter death, there is the presence of death, the essence of death that is there upon that happening. And with both of my grandmothers, I was there, as they were dying, and watching someone die. They both kind of entered these kind of like fever, coma-like states in the last hours and days of their lives, and they almost returned to like a fetal look. They almost look like little babies again, and it really is that cycle of completion. But that death rattle, that going into and passing over, there certainly is something there. There is a presence that you feel when you're in the room with someone who is dying, and the presence of death. And death can be this really horrific thing, of course, but for the person passing over, I think death can also be that greeter, the thing that greets us as we transition. And it's something, again, we all meet. And so whether you call it Hades, whether you call it hell, Anubis, or whatever the Egyptian god of death is, whatever you call death, whatever you face death as, whatever the lens is, death is a presence, death is an energy. And I think that's, again, something we need to acknowledge. It's something that I feel like we're all trying to run away from, like death, stay away. But death will find us all. Death finds every single human thing, every single living thing. Death finds the sun eventually. Death will find this planet again. It's a very powerful force. So I think within our human acknowledgement of death, I think we need to embrace it more and recognize it more. Bring it more into the conversation, to decorate it more. I think the Day of the Dead is a really great example of that. I think Halloween is a very, immature example of that. But Halloween comes from this ancient custom of Samhain or Samhain, and the Celtic observance of death. Again, like seeing that transition for my grandmothers, seeing them slowly fade into that next thing, seeing who they were disappear and go somewhere else, very interesting. The light leaving someone's eyes is totally a thing. And watching that is, it's something. And it's powerful. It should be respected and acknowledged, I think, is ultimately what I'm trying to say. Hey, I wanted to bring some of the back up. So it's me with the flute again. I don't want to just show up the spot because it was hard getting here. But something else I was just reflecting on. This is what I love about spirituality. This is what I love about just reflecting, going out in nature, is playing music, even though this might not sound good to anyone else. I don't even know if it sounds good to me, but thinking about my grandmothers, like I was just thinking, oh, let me create just a little tune for nature here for my grandmothers. Let me reflect and think about them and play music. That was really cool. Guys, we need to be creative more. We need to just, life is awesome. And I think the gifts of life truly help us deal with the hardships of life. So yes, life's gifts are truly incredible. And that's what I love most about spring, is it reminds us of the amazing gift we have when it comes to being alive and enjoying every moment of it. So I've reached the end of my hike, and we've reached the end of this video. And so I also want to just leave you with here some advice, as best organized as I can. So my 3 pieces of advice for you: if death has happened recently or in the past, and it's something you're still grieving with, or it's happened, relatively soon, or it will be, the 3 things I want to say is: 1, listen to your dreams, listen to your heart and intuition. I was in England last year, all the way up till about November. And the reason that I ended my travels, one of the big reasons, is because I started having nightmares about my grandparents passing. And I could tell the time was coming soon. And my soul felt it, my mind felt it, my body felt it. And I could have easily ignored these things. But I really knew it was time to come back. And because of that, I was able to get some more time with my grandmothers who are no longer with me. And so truly, listen to your heart. Don't be paranoid, but definitely follow your intuition and listen to your dreams. My second piece of advice is, once someone passes, I find that people who no longer follow a Christian backdrop in life really struggle with this, especially if they feel they've been brainwashed, is you need to pray more. And I'm not talking necessarily at the edge of your bed with your hands crossed. You don't have to do any Lord's prayers or anything like that. But in all honesty, prayer is a very powerful thing, especially when talking to those who have passed. And so I really recommend, if you have someone that you want to connect with, simply talk to them, because they'll listen. You can feel them. Think about their presence. Think about what they mean to you. Have a memory of them. Meditate on them, and then talk to them. I think you might be really surprised how powerful that can be. And I guess my final piece of advice for this video is, set aside time at least once a year, perhaps more than that, maybe every season. Maybe don't go every weekend, that might be too much. But we as humans have memorialized the dead ever since we've been walking this earth and have been able to erect stones and sticks. And so let's not forget that. Let's not just leave the body at the gravesite. Take time every year to acknowledge this person, the dead ancestors, even deeper. I think the Celts with Samhain, I think November 1st, Halloween, I think there is something to this thinning of the veil. And I think we need to embrace it more. But yeah, I think even the Norse, they had Dísarblót, honoring the female ancestors. And yeah, I think just honoring the ancestors in general, but those who have passed, I think we need to do that a little bit more. And again, I think Day of the Dead, it's a great thing to look to. I hope you subscribe, like, and all that good YouTuber stuff, because I'm excited to get back to taking you on hikes like this and making content like this again. So with that, thank you so very much, and I'll see you in the next video here, The Wisdom of Odin.